Whether you're tubing, kayaking, heading to the beach, the creek, or spending the day on the boat, this little mesh bag keeps your essentials right where you need them. It clips onto your gear, dries quickly, and is perfect for things like sunscreen, a water bottle, bug spray, and anything else that doesn't need to stay dry. Let's make one. Hi, I'm Victoria, and I help you sew practical, stylish accessories that are ready for real life and real adventures. My family originally bought little mesh bags to clip onto our kayaks so we could keep things like sunscreen, bug spray, or even a water bottle within easy reach instead of digging through a dry bag every time we needed something. They worked well enough, but they were pretty small and they didn't hold up very long. So I designed a slightly larger, sturdier version with a wide drawstring casing that's easier to use and works just as well for kayaking, tubing, beach days, boating, and more. This is a confident beginner project that should take about an afternoon to complete. There are a couple of little trickier steps at the end, but I'll walk you through everything in detail so you can sew along with confidence, even if you haven't been sewing for long. Before we get started, let's take a look at the supplies you'll need. There aren't many for this project. I'm demonstrating the smaller size in today's tutorial, so the estimates are based on that version. First, you'll need about 1/4 yard of utility-grade mesh fabric. When shopping for mesh, I recommend something sturdier that's more like fabric rather than stiff plastic netting. The plastic-style mesh tends to tear more easily, while the utility mesh is stronger and holds up better for a project like this. If you're shopping online, I know it's not always easy to judge from the photos, so I've linked the mesh I use in the description below. You'll also need a large scrap of swimsuit fabric. Rather than buying swimsuit fabric by the yard, I recommend repurposing an old swimsuit or even picking up one inexpensively from the thrift store. I was actually gifted some swimsuit fabric recently, but I also have several old swimsuits from relatives, so I'm just going to look at what I have there. I'm actually just going to use this piece that's already cut off. You only need a relatively small piece, so it's a great way to reuse something that might otherwise go to waste. Next, you'll need some 2.38mm or 3/32 cable cord for the drawstring. It usually comes in about a 10-yard package, but you'll only need a couple of feet. You'll also need one single-hole cord lock for the drawstring. That's the little spring-loaded toggle that slides up and down the cord. I'll link it and the cable cord down below. Finally, you'll need coordinating thread. I recommend matching one spool to your mesh, in my case white, and another to whatever swimsuit fabric you decide to use. I also have a printable sewing pattern available for this project, so you can just print, cut, and sew without having to measure or draft anything yourself. The pattern includes both the small size I'm demonstrating today and a slightly larger size, along with the fabric estimates for each. It also comes with step-by-step written instructions and illustrated diagrams that pair with this video, making it easy to follow along now and come back to the project later. You can download the pattern using the QR code on screen or the link in the description below. Now let's jump in. First, cut out all of your pieces. Start by folding your mesh fabric in half since the main body is cut on the fold. Then cut out the top piece from your swimsuit fabric and go ahead and cut your cable cord to length. Next, line up the sides of your folded mesh and clip the layers together. Mesh likes to wiggle around while you're sewing, so use plenty of clips to keep everything lined up. And definitely use clips. Pins won't really work well here. Next, sew both side seams using an overedge stitch and matching thread. I recommend using an overedge stitch here since it does a better job of securing the mesh. If your sewing machine doesn't have an overedge stitch, you can use a zigzag stitch right along the edge. Next, sew both side seams again using a straight stitch with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. This second line of stitching reinforces the seams and gives the sides of the bag a little more structure since mesh doesn't provide much fabric for the stitches to grip on its own. Next, with the wrong side of the fabric still out, fold the top edge of the mesh down a 1/4 inch towards the outside and clip it in place all the way around. I find it easier to start in the middle of each side and work your way towards the side seams. That helps encourage the seams to fold over more neatly once the rest of the edge has already been clipped into place. Next, sew the folded edge down with a straight stitch. As you work your way around the opening, I recommend feeding the bottom half of the opening under the presser foot rather than the top half, if that makes sense. That keeps the rest of the bag on top instead of underneath, making it much easier to rotate as you sew. Normally, that puts the bobbin thread on the outside, but in this case, it doesn't matter. Next, turn the bag right side out and make sure the corners are fully pushed out. Then use a seam roller to flatten the side seams and encourage them to lay nice and flat. I don't really want to use an iron on this mesh, so a seam roller works really well here. I really like the one I'm using. I'll link it below if you're interested. Next, place your swimsuit fabric wrong side up and fold each short end over a ½ inch towards the wrong side. Clip both ends in place. Swimsuit fabric can be pretty slippery, so I recommend using plenty of clips to keep everything from shifting. Next, sew both folded ends down using about a 3/8 inch seam allowance. It doesn't have to be exact, we're just securing the folded ends in place. I recommend sewing from the right side of the fabric so your stitching stays nice and neat. Next, with the wrong side of the swimsuit fabric facing up, fold both long edges over a ½ inch towards the wrong side and clip them in place. Just like before, I recommend using plenty of clips since swimsuit fabric tends to shift around as you work. Next, sew both folded long edges down using about a 3/8 inch seam allowance, just like we did with the short ends. Again, it doesn't have to be exact, we're simply securing the folded edges in place. If you're finding this tutorial helpful, please hit the like button. It helps the video reach more sewists. And if you're interested in more practical sewing tutorials like this, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Next, pin the top casing to the mesh. Start by matching one short edge of the swimsuit fabric with one of the side seams of the mesh bag. Then line up the top edge of the mesh with the folded edge of the swimsuit fabric along the long edge. Fold the opposite edge of the swimsuit fabric over the mesh and begin pinning the layers together. Work a small section at a time, checking that the edge of the mesh stays tucked all the way into the fold and aligned before adding your next pin. I recommend pinning parallel to the edge rather than perpendicular, since it does a better job of keeping all three layers aligned. When you reach the other side, slightly overlap the ends of the swimsuit fabric at that side seam. Next, sew the top casing to the mesh using a straight stitch and thread that matches your swimsuit fabric. Start where the two ends of the casing overlap and sew close to the bottom edge of the casing to attach all three layers. This time, feed the top half of the opening under the presser foot first so your top thread stitching shows on the outside of the bag. As you sew, keep checking that the opposite side of the bag underneath stays out of the way so you don't accidentally stitch the opening closed. If something shifts out of place, don't be afraid to stop, adjust it, and then keep going. Once you're finished, check the inside of the casing to make sure it was caught all the way around. If you find any spots that slipped out, just sew over those sections again with your stitching line slightly above the original to catch the folded edge. Next, sew along the existing stitch line at the top of the casing. This second line of stitching helps secure all three layers together, keeps the mesh from slipping, and adds extra strength to the attachment. Next, use a drawstring threader to feed the cable cord through the casing. Insert it into one opening and work it all the way around until it comes out the other side. Next, feed both ends of the cable cord through the cord lock, one cord at a time. If the ends of your cord have started to fray, you can carefully pass them through a flame for just a second to lightly seal them. I also find it helpful to use an awl to help push the cord through the opening. Once both cords are through, pull them even so the ends line up. Then tie the ends together with a double knot. Trim away the excess cord and lightly seal the cut ends with a flame to help prevent them from fraying. Now let me show you how it works. Just open the bag, toss in whatever you want to keep within easy reach, like sunscreen, bug spray, hand sanitizer, or even a drink. Slide the cord lock down to pull the drawstring close and clip it onto your gear. Now you're ready for your next adventure on the water. If you're ready to make your own, don't forget to download the printable pattern using the QR code on screen or the link in the description below. And if you're looking for more practical sewing projects, check out this video next. Thanks for watching. Bye!